I've been known from time to time to indulge in fake names. That's one hell of an opening sentence, isn't it? Welcome to F Major at a Second Chord, the podcast where I talk about things. I'm Miles White, or am I? I have I have a text file on my computer just full of fake names. Some of them in other languages, some of them in multiple languages. Why am I telling you this? I don't know. What else am I going to talk about? Why do I create fake names? That's a good question. Because, I've talked about how I dabble with the playwriting. And part of the thing about playwriting is creating characters. And part of the thing about characters is names. Names are important. A name can tell you a lot about someone. Like, what their name is. What are you supposed to call them when you, see them in the street? What's the first letter of their name? And more seriously, certain, things like what culture they come from and what things that culture values. A name like Chastity tells you a lot. Hey, I'm Chastity Banks. I can see where you came from, roughly speaking, broadly speaking, in a manner of speaking. But, it's like people say, oh, Edna, that's an old person name. There's someone like, Siegfried, that's German. Maybe a little stuck up. Where's a collars? Something like Edmund. Edmund, he's this good, solid guy, reliable, a little upper class maybe. Edmund. You hear these names and you can create associations with them. You can do a lot of shorthand with names. One of the best names I ever came up with was Quinlan Marshall, which is an utterly ridiculous name. It's sort of fanciful, very, a little posh, very much an artist name, Quinlan. And I gave it to a character who was not very smart and had very few artistic scruples, with the creativity and the making a statement. That was one of the best names I've ever come up with, I think. Sometimes I give myself fake names. This is usually when I am, accosted in the street by like a street magician or something, and I don't want to give the street magician my real name, because why on earth would I want to do that? And usually just come up with something. Oh, like, my name is Frank. Well, Frank, I'm going to do a card trick for you. And I just sort of smile and grin, even though I really don't want to stick around for this card trick because I have things to do. That's happened to me a couple times, I think. Happened to me once in a restaurant when I was just trying to have a good time. But that's neither here nor there. My name's not actually Frank. My name has never been Frank. I've never wanted to be Frank, the name. I want to be honest. But I create these fake names in situations where honesty is not really important. I'm not going to see that street magician a second time. The one thing I don't do is try and create names that suit me. That's not something I've ever really been interested in doing. I'm more interested in making names fit together. Like, John. John what? John Kessler? That's fine. Kessler's a little too much for John. The thing is, you have to make names balanced. Kessler is not a John name, I don't think. Henry, maybe. Henry Kessler. Not bad. Henry Kessler. Of course, that's in the document already. Shoot, I might have borrowed it from someone else, but for the purposes of demonstration, it works. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to start one from scratch. Let's see. There's a book on my shelf written by Sophia. What goes with Sophia? Sophia is, I think Sophia is Greek. It's got a lot of soft sounds in it. Let's keep the soft sounds going. Sophia Thurmond. The Mund is too hard. The Mund is too hard for Sophia. It's like Mund. No. There's too much muscle in there. Thermal? Thermal's a word. That's not a name. There's certain words you can get away with making, names and not words. Thermal is not one of them. Let's step away from the whole third space. Sophia Franklin. That's two first names. That's 2 first names. Sometimes that works, like Benjamin Franklin. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sophia Fale? Like Fale? I don't know if that's a real name. I don't know. But I like those sounds. Sophia Fale. I like the L, the Sophia. Sophia Farrell? No. The R is too rough. Sophia Falstaff? That sounds silly. That's the thing. You can't have names that are too interesting next to each other either. Or rather, you have to keep the names, I don't know. There's definitely an FL name. I just can't think of it. Fulton. Sophia Fulton. Ah, yes. Because I like the stress, too. Sophia Fulton. It's got good trochees in it. You have to be careful to balance the meter of the names as well, the stress patterns. Sophia Fulton. I like that. Let's use that. That's a name, Sophia Fulton. What do we use it for? Who is Sophia Fulton? Fulton I stole from a teacher who teaches here. I think she's history. And Sophia does mean wisdom. But if we don't want to do a bookish academic or like a librarian, which is honestly what I'm thinking Sophia Fulton is. Fulton is an old name. Since Fulton is an old name. I wouldn't call it a professional's name either, like, Smith, that's a professional's name. Garrison, that's a professional's name, but not Fulton. Someone who writes dictionaries. Someone who works, like, in an office and manufactures, or rather writes and edits dictionaries. Which is kind of like an academic, but different. Or maybe cookbooks, yes. The Fulton Cookbook. The Fulton Guide to the Art of the Sauté by Sophia Fulton, who got awards from like the James Beard Institute or whoever it is that decides you're a good cook. There, see? There we go. We have a name. We figured out who that name belonged to. I like doing that. What I don't do is take names and try and fit them to me. Because I don't know myself that well, I know I'm too intimately acquainted with the goings-on of my own life to figure out whether or not my name fits me. It's the only name I've ever had, and this is the only life I've ever lived. So I can't just say, yes, Miles White, that's his name, and that's who he is. I would never change my name, I don't think. Unless, like, I killed somebody and I needed to go into hiding, but that's, different. Hopefully I never do that. I don't plan on doing that anyway. It's a hobby, coming up with fake names. I have one friend who, every time I see them, they ask me, who are you? And I have to come up with a different fake name on the spot every single time. And it's difficult because you got to make them balance together. And sometimes you find a part of a name, like Coryphaeus. Ooh, that's a good name. But what does it go with? Turns out Coryphaeus doesn't actually go with anything. It's it's too ornate. It's like a wood carving, It's too ornate. It's like a picture frame. You need one heck of a portrait to fit in that frame. I have yet to come up with it. It's also very Greek. I have a tendency to use Greek names too often. Not that there's anything wrong with Greek names. It's just that there are also other names. And again, you can tell a lot about a person and, their culture or whatever from the name that they have. From the meaning of that name. I like knowing what words and what names mean. Like, did you know that Thaddeus means courageous heart? Thaddeus, that's a good name. I like that name. And then, there are ones everyone knows. Like, Leon means, it means lion. Or, Clark. Clark comes from Old English or something. It's like clerk. Literally, it's clerk, Clark. Clerk, Clark. That's a professional's name right there. This is something I do to, as a writing aid, and just something I do for fun. I don't know. This has just been me rambling about this thing that I think is fun and then spending altogether too long trying to come up with a name on the spot. But that's what the process is like. Yeah. There's a new Bachelor record coming out, and I'm mega excited, so expect a record review of that at the beginning of December. Beyond that, no idea what the future holds. That's what makes life so interesting, isn't it? Have a nice evening.